Hey, everybody on YouTube as well. I decided to let the TikTokers in first today. I am John Aravosis in Chicago, not in Washington, D.C., but in about a week and a half, I'll be back in D.C. Welcome, everybody. We are here to talk about Ukraine, the latest. We will start doing that around 5 after the hour. We take the first 5 minutes just to give folks a chance to kind of come in and join us. It usually takes a few minutes for everyone to get notified on the various sites. And in the meantime, introduce yourselves, say where you're from, if you would. We'd like to see that. And if we see any Ukrainians, remember, give them lots of sunflowers. We do that for all of our Ukraine. And if we see lots of Russians, we give them lots of sunflowers. Mom as well. Just got back from the dentist. Teeth are clean. Poland, good to see you. And a crown already. Thank you on TikTok. I know, cue the Russians. I never can really tell because I'm giving the talk. But apparently, like, the Russians come in like a tsunami at the beginning whenever we go live. It's the funniest thing. Kenyan living in Illinois. Mercy, good to meet you. Actually, I've seen you here before. I remember the Kenyan in Illinois thing. Alaska, Portugal. Glasses from Big Hawk. Thank you. Oh, guys, Norway. Love to see that too. I am doing well today, Kumar. Nothing special. Just getting ready for this. Did a little shopping for Sunday, for Mother's Day. We're going to be at my sister's, and I'm going to make a Greek moussaka. So I had to go get eggplant and things today. So Ukrainian here from Massachusetts. I think that merits some sunflowers on TikTok. IG Papery. Give a few sunflowers on TikTok for them, please. And hey, everybody else. Yeah, we're going to go another 3 minutes. So if you're just joining us, we take a couple minutes for folks to be able to filter in. So we'll start officially. Tyson, Ann, good to see you, and thank you for that. We take a couple minutes just for folks to get on. Oh, and somebody else from Kyiv as well. Nice. Bob Down 61 from Kyiv. Wow, nice. We've got several Ukrainians today. What's happened in Ukraine? Lots today. Nothing too bad, though. Today isn't necessarily a bad day. I think it's kind of a day in waiting. Hello, Bulgaria. Good to see you. Another place I've never been to and would like to visit. But yeah, the news isn't too bad today. We're going to get to it in about... Thank you, Pamela, for that. We're going to get to it in about 2 or 3 minutes. But I'd say it's not a bad news day. I think the news is kind of almost in waiting right now to see what the Russians do in the next few days for this big May 9th celebration they're having and whether they just go insane. But Cyborg, yes, the Cyborg thing, I don't know if I said that, where it's the cute, hey, Sweden on TikTok. It's the cool stuff people put on me, although I think it looks like the Borg on TikTok. So, ooh, lots of Ukrainian flags and sunflowers. Germany. Oh, ship sunk. I didn't see if it sank. It did get hit, which we're going to talk about. Thank you, Disney, for the May greeting. I don't know if it actually sunk. I don't know, folks. Do you want to tell David on YouTube how to add sunflowers? I actually don't know how you add all the little images and stuff, unless you have to copy an emoji from the rest of the web. Don't know. All right, guys, 2 more minutes. At 5 after the hour, we will begin. We're just waiting for folks to filter in and also having folks say where they're from. Resistance is futile unless you are Ukrainian. Exactly. In my hat. Thank you. My Mexican hat or whatever it is. I appreciate the thank you. Yeah, let's go Russia as in let's go Brandon, if that's what you meant. I thought it might be what you meant, although the mods may ban you thinking you meant praising Russia, just so you know. Canada, Manitoba, a couple Canadians, and my favorite little hat there, Pamela. God, it's amazing how that stuff on TikTok, the crazy stuff they can put on you. There's a wreath of flowers that reminds me of like the Ukrainian women in those beautiful flower dresses with the flowers on the head. Or maybe it's sweet. Maybe I'm thinking the Swedish with the flowers. But I thought Ukrainian, do Ukrainian not have that sort of crown of flowers as well? Or is that just a Swedish thing? I thought it was Ukrainian as well. My mic is always low. It shouldn't be low today. The mic is what the mic is today. No, I mean, it could be. It depends. I mean, on my on the live mic, it's right here by my... Hello. It's right here by me. It's the best it can do. So, sorry. But, all right, guys, 1 more minute, and then we're going to jump right in. What else is going on? Sasha is good. She is next to me underneath a... thank you for the flapjacks, user 13729. She is right underneath my fleece next to me. She likes to cut up. She's kind of... what are you doing? You all right? Moving around? All right. She's not sure she wants to be on the chair with me. Do you want to be on the chair? Okay, there you go. She was, I did see the origami. Thank you. Sasha, the dog, was moving around. All right, guys, I think we're ready to start. Feel free to keep saying where you're all from as you arrive. Imekala, Tikakis. Kakis, I think, would be something else. Malta. All right, guys. Nice. So, all right, guys, let me just jump right in. Good to see you all. So, and thank you for that, Cami. I almost missed it. I was looking down at my notes. Let's start with, okay, as always, let's kind of start with where things are in the East. Not a lot of change today. One good piece of news. We had heard this yesterday, and it seems to be the case. Oh, actually, I'm sorry. I forgot to say. To submit, I keep assuming all of you are the regulars because there's so many of you, but there's, I'm sure, new people every day. We will start explaining the news. I think of we as like all, I always say we. Somebody made fun of me on TikTok for saying we, but I don't say we like I'm the queen, which maybe I am. But it's the we is like we. I think of us as a whole thing, you and me. So we will start with a news summary for about 20, 25 minutes, the latest news, what I think matters, why I think it matters. And then I will switch over to question and answer your questions. On TikTok, you submit the questions via the very bottom of your screen. You're going to see something that says Q&A, questions and answers. Click that, put your questions there, because it makes it way easier for me to find them later. And on YouTube, pretty obvious, using the question feature. I would say this: hold your questions in the question feature, if they're regular questions, until we get to the Q&A. Thank you, Bainbridge, for that. Until we get to the Q&A, because otherwise it's hard for me to scroll back and see them. On YouTube, if you buy the Super Chat questions, I will always get to them immediately as soon as I'm finished with the section I'm on, as a thank you for supporting my work. I do this full time. So quite literally, I am supported by you guys buying the questions on TikTok, buying the questions on YouTube, doing the sticky things on YouTube, the sticky things, the super stickers. That sounds a little nicer than the sticky things. And all you wonderful folks on TikTok, every little silly thing you put on my head is helping support me. So I appreciate you. And I will try to call it out. Sometimes I miss them, but I will try to call them out when I see them. So anyway, okay, in the East, here's the thing. We'll start with the East. As you know, that's the main battle focus now. Remember, the Ukrainians beat the Russians in the north. So the north, Kyiv, the capital, all that's safe for now. And the Russians are trying to take the East. They want to annex it. And the Ukrainians have kind of switched to the offensive in many places now, which is very interesting. So the Russians were attacking first, and the Russians were, pushing the Ukrainians back, and they were on the offensive. Now the Ukrainians are on the offensive. They've moved back in a number of areas. That's good news. Doesn't mean they're going to win the war, but you'd rather be in a position where you're attacking than defending. Well, let me put it this way: if it's your country that you're living in, you don't want to just be defending, because after a while you're moving backwards. So they're on the attack. They're on the offense, which is great. They're specifically, I actually grabbed a quick little sentence from the New York Times. Emboldened by sophisticated weapons and long-range artillery provided by the West, Ukraine went on the offensive against Russian forces in northeast Ukraine on Friday, seeking to drive them back from outside two critical cities. So you're seeing this happen in part because the Ukrainians are finally getting the extra weapons they need from the West, and it's empowering them to finally start pushing back, which is amazing. I am seeing a lot of sunflowers popping up on YouTube. Thank you, Pamela, for that. That's one of my faves. I'm hoping that was because a Ukrainian popped in and not because an evil Russian troll popped in. Come on up, Sasha. No, we're not playing ball. We're not playing ball yet. Nope. Come on. My dog's arriving thinking we're playing ball, but that doesn't happen until we get to the very end of the show. You guys come first. The other thing people are worried about in general is just, and otherwise nothing's really changed. I mean, there's the Ukrainians are moving ahead. I know there's the ring, but when I got the glasses on, I can thank people like Elaine who give me the little disco ball. Otherwise, you just have to accept like I'm an alien or something, that I've got twirls in my eyes, guys. But Putin may go crazy this weekend. We'll see. May 9th is the big celebration. Today's the 6th, so 7th, 8th, that would be Monday. It's the day the Russians celebrate the anniversary of, the Russians single-handedly beating the Nazis in World War II, because they like to pretend like they were the only people fighting that war. But, and they did do a lot, but they also did a lot with us providing them, what was it, like 13,000 planes? I mean, a ridiculous amount of artillery, vehicles, everything else. So glad the Russians beat Hitler. Glad we helped the Russians beat Hitler. Kind of unfortunate the Russians had a peace treaty with Hitler, and really unfortunate that the Russians used their victory to enslave half of Europe for almost 50 years. Other than that, great people. have your celebration. But anyway, the concern is that the Russians may go ballistic literally over the next 3 days and just do everything they can to try to blow up Ukraine, certainly to try to steal the East, though I think they're not going to get the East in time for this weekend. They certainly want Mariupol, which is why they've been blowing the hell out of that. The latest on that, another 50 civilians were evacuated today. That brings the total up to 500, but the count that we had all along was 1,000 civilians. So in principle, there's still 500 civilians there. People are dying. It ain't good. So anyway, so the concern is over the next 3 days, what is Putin going to do? Is he going to be lobbing cruise missiles at everybody? He's certainly going to be bombing the hell out of Mariupol, because I think he wants to claim Mariupol as a victory for his victory day. What he's going to do in the East, anyway, we'll see. But they're already talking about curfew in various cities. They're warning people, even in eastern Ukraine, southwestern Ukraine. I always get the town's name wrong, but it's like Ivanovsk or something Ivanovsk or whatever, but it's way southwestern Ukraine. They're even warning them not to hold any public gatherings and things because they're afraid the Russians may attack with missiles. So not good. The other ship, yes, another ship has been hit, at least reportedly. As of what I saw an hour ago, it was not necessarily, we're getting a lot of, there's Ivano Franks, I think. Yeah, we've got a lot of trolls on TikTok, just so the mods know. I'm assuming we've got folks there, but if somebody wants to go over and help them, it might help. At least the people are telling me the trolls are there. Another ship's been hit. Yay. The Ukrainians are reporting this. It hasn't been confirmed yet, but you know what? We have found over the years, or at least over the weeks, that every time the Ukrainians say they hit a ship, the Ukrainians hit a ship. So exactly. Big explosions of party favors on the screen for this. It is a patrol ship, the Admiral Makarov, reportedly hit by another Neptune missile, which is the same missile system the Ukrainians used to take down the Moskva. And I was trying to think how many boats this was. Boats. I know you Navy people don't like it when we call them boats, but can I call them boats pejoratively since we're attacking Russian boats? Maybe. Does that work? How many boats the Ukrainians have taken down already? They've got this one. They've got the 2 patrol boats earlier this week. You've got the Moskva, that big, right? The big flagship they took down. You've got the ship that was in port. Remember, they attacked the ship that was in port already? That one, and the other 2 ships had to pull away. That was 5, and I may be forgetting a 6th. But this is really good. I mean, yeah, you've had the 2 patrol ships this week, this ship, the Moskva, and the one that was in port. I think there's a 6th I'm forgetting, but pretty amazing without a navy, mind you. Ukrainians don't have a navy, and they've been doing this with just their missiles. And my guess is they're getting even better missiles now from the West, and that's what's going to be interesting. Or I keep saying the West. I keep being taken back to the Soviet years. That's going to be interesting. Now, an update on the oil embargo. There's been a lot of talk about whether Europe was going to, hey, Richie, you're late. As I learned in Russian, luche pozdno, чем никогда. That's how you say better late than never in Russian. One of the very few things I can say in Russian, but for some reason that has stuck in my head 40 years later. I don't know why. I did get to use it once in Moscow and freaked the hell out of our guide who didn't know I spoke Russian, and I used it, and she was like, at the end of the week where she thought I only spoke French and English, and then found out I spoke Russian, she was like, you speak Russian? Like, yeah. I said, yeah, немного. Like, not much, which freaked her out even more. Anyway, I like screwing with the interest lady. It was fun back then. So oil. We've been wanting Europe to ban oil from Russia. The problem is, of course, they've got to find something to replace it with, other oil supplies and things like that. I had just read an interesting figure that I had not seen before, that most of Europe gets around 25% of their oil from Russia, but Hungary and Slovakia get more than half of their oil from Russia, which I thought was very interesting because that explains why Hungary and Slovakia. I mean, we assumed Hungary was being a pain with the oil embargo because Hungary's a pain. I mean, they're fine people, but their president or prime minister, whatever the hell he is, prime minister, I think, is kind of a wannabe fascist and big friend of Putin, not a good guy, not a friend of democracy. So I was thinking that was part of the reason he was causing trouble, but they actually do get a lot of their oil imports from Russia. So it's a different situation for them in Slovakia. The latest talk was, I'll even read you the latest EU proposal, but I'm not sure Hungary is going to agree to it. The EU proposes to revise sanctions on Russian oil to give Hungary, Slovakia, and the Czech Republic more time to comply. the EU has proposed a revision that would allow Hungary and Slovakia to buy Russian oil until the end of 2024, and until June 2024 for the Czech Republic. All other member states would phase out their imports by the end of this year as originally proposed. So let's see. My guess is I think Hungary's just going for a total exemption entirely, which maybe they'll get. We'll see how the other countries feel about it. But it'd still be pretty cool if the others could cut them off. President Biden, a lot of new aid coming in, which is great. A variety of countries, including Germany, Australia. I'm going to mention them since we don't mention Australia very much in this regard. President Biden is sending a new security package to Ukraine worth $150 million. It will include 25,000 artillery rounds, counter-artillery radars, and we love those. So those are the radars, pretty sure, that you use to blow up the enemies. Well, you use the radars to target the enemy's NATO bot, thank you, the enemy's artillery, which is fabulous. Jamming equipment and other field equipment. The first evidence of a Switchblade 300 kamikaze drone was found in Ukraine. The Russians shared a picture or whatever of the remains of a kamikaze drone they found. These are the killer drones that the U.S. is providing to Ukraine that basically have a bomb in the front of them. You fly the drone around, you look for your target, and you crash into them, and drone blows up, person blows up, whatever. There's two different kinds. I don't know how many of each we're sending. The smaller drone is used for hitting people. So you would use it for hitting an individual. And I'm tucking my dog in as I talk to you because that's the kind of dog dad I am. There you go. Because I knew what was coming. Oh, hello. There. Thank you. The smaller one is used for getting people. So you might hit if you know for example, a general is on his phone, you might hit the general, or you might hit the driver of a vehicle. The large one is used for taking out tanks and things like that. I am not in Ukraine. I am in Chicago, normally living in Washington, D.C. Somebody was asking on TikTok. The other stuff. Oh, yeah, the Switchblade. So very cool that there's now evidence of the first ones being there, which means the Ukrainians are using them. The U.S. is sending at least 600. I thought I read 700, but I was trying to confirm it today, and I only saw 600, but I still think it's 700. Anyway, we're sending a lot, which is great. The only negative is they're one-time use because they're kamikaze. So they blow up and they're gone. So it's not like the Ukrainians can use them repeatedly, so they've got to use them for good targets. Australia completed a shipment of 20 armored vehicle howitzers to Ukraine. The last of the 20 Bushmaster, and my nephew's arriving as we talk. The last of the 20 Bushmaster armored vehicles, and the dogs are protecting me from my nephew. There we go. All right. Get over here. Oh. Australia's arms shipment. So the last of the 20 Bushmaster armored vehicles gifted to Ukraine, along with 7 M777 howitzers, are en route to Ukraine. So that's nice to see. I had not seen much about Australia, and I admit to having a America focus. So it was nice to see some other countries I hadn't heard much are doing. So thank you, Australia. Although I'm not surprised Australia's helping. That was kind of given. I assumed it was my ignorance and not Australia not doing anything. Germany confirmed sending 7 howitzers to Ukraine. Oh, and you know what, dog? We're doing you again. All right. Part of my show is dealing with the fact that I'm a dog parent, and they intervene. Germany is sending 7 howitzers. The German defense minister said on May 6th that they will send 7 Panzerhaubitze, which I can't speak German, 2,000 howitzers. They are among the most powerful artillery weapons in the Bundeswehr, which is the German army, and can hit targets at a distance of 40 kilometers or 25 miles. That's good. Let's talk a little bit about May 9th coming up. As we said, that's the big day that the Russians are celebrating their single-handed victory because they were the only people fighting in World War II against the Nazis. Literally nobody else fought if you listen to the Russians. And they never had a peace treaty with the Nazis for 2 years. That the only reason they went to war is because the Nazis broke the peace treaty, but we're not going there. The Russians are great. Not even the Russians, it was the Soviets. The Russians like to take credit. It was the Soviets, which means it was all the countries responsible. It wasn't just the Russians, but the Russians being Russians. Anyway, Biden, I like this. This was a good story. Remember the lend-lease bill that the Congress passed about a week or two ago? And it's a little confusing, but basically allows Biden to sort of send equipment, I think, getting around Congress. It helps him speed up the sending of it and stuff. Anyway, it's supposed to be beneficial for getting more aid to Ukraine. Well, Biden is going to sign it into law on May 9th. May 9th being, the big the big Russia celebration day. So I kind of liked that. It was nice symbolism and a little bit of, from the White House on that. Biden is going to take part of a G7 video meeting on May 9th as well. Thank you, suspense for that on TikTok. The G7 being, if not the seven, I think it is the seven of the world's largest economies. So that's pretty cool that that's happening, or seven of them. It doesn't include China on May 9th. And that, I believe, is the one that Zelensky is going to be sitting in on as well. I'm pretty sure. So that's another bit of a rub at Russia. Putin made kind of a bizarre hint at nuclear war, or not Putin. As part of the May 9th stuff, the Russians have decided they're going to fly their super duper nuclear war command plane over Red Square or whatever. You know how the Russians during this parade, they bring out their nuclear weapons. They do all sorts of really, thank you, Audrey, really gaudy stuff that as at least Americans, we would find really gaudy, like as obnoxious as we are as a culture sometimes, we don't have parades with our weapons. I saw one in my lifetime and it was very rare. We just don't do it. The Russians do, the French do too, but the Russians like to parade with their scary little nuclear weapons to scare everybody. Well, they're going to include the command plane that is used when they go to nuclear war. And it's the plane, it's going to fly over. And it's intended, of course, as a threat that they could go to nuclear war any day now. We better be careful. And as I've told you guys repeatedly, we've got nuclear submarines. They attack us. We will destroy them. And yes, it'll be the end of the world, but there's no way the Russians will attack us because they know we've got nuclear submarines and they know the Brits have nuclear submarines. So there's no way they're attacking us. Literally, they could fire all their weapons at us. They could destroy the entire United States, the entirety of Europe, including the UK, including Ireland. We left out Ireland the other day, and I think Daniel O'Neill got upset. So yes, they would also wipe out Daniel O'Neill. But there would be no chance of them destroying our nuclear submarines. Those submarines would survive, and all of those nukes would go back to Russia, and Russia wouldn't exist either. I ain't saying it's a pretty thing. I am saying Putin knows this, and that's why he's never going to use his nukes. My prediction. If I'm wrong, the world's over. You're not going to be able to hold it against me anyway. So it's probably a pretty safe prediction. But not so much. The other thing, and I loved seeing this news this morning because I think I've been telling you this. I know I've been telling you this. Listen to this. Biana Golodriga, who I really like, who's a Soviet-born, I think from Moldova, who's a CNN host. Very good. And thank you, Elaine. I love that. Ooh, pretty. She tweeted that Western analysts and intelligence now say that Putin is bluffing about his nukes. I paraphrase here. He knows the cost of using nuclear weapons is, I guess, either the strategic nuke or the battlefield nukes, the small ones, those or the big ones like an ICBM or something. He knows that the cost of using them is prohibitively high, and he's using the issue to deter the U.S. and its allies from becoming more involved in helping, which is exactly what I've been telling you for 2 months now. Putin is bluffing, and he's simply trying to scare us. Well, Western intelligence has reached the same conclusion, and you might even remember we were talking, in the last 48 hours, I think we were talking about this because one of you asked me, maybe it was Marion, I don't even remember. One of you asked me and said, what do you think it is that intelligence found? Because we were talking about just this fact that I think our intelligence people went to Biden, the same kind of people went to Boris Johnson and everybody else and said, he's bluffing, stop worrying about him. And all of a sudden we went from, oh my God, World War III to, Vlad, take a break. So anyway, I was excited to see that because substantively it's important and it backed up what I've been saying, which is always nice. Weird little story from Germany is my last substantive story. And then I'll give you a quick fundraiser update. Berlin has banned the Ukrainian flag and other symbols on May 8th and 9th, right? The big Russian, anniversary World War II. Ukrainian activists plan to hold a peace rally in Berlin. I actually copied this. This is from the Kyiv Independent is where I got this text. But I did check the original article, which is seem to back it up. Hold on, I will get that question down there, Flint, and I will get to you in a sec. So yeah, they banned the Ukrainian flag and other symbols. Ukrainian activists had planned to hold a peace rally in Berlin and commemorate the victims of World War II, which killed millions of Ukrainians. But Berlin authorities forbade them to bring Ukrainian symbols, putting them on the same list as Russian imperialist symbols, including the Z sign in support of the Russian aggression and St. George symbols. I have no idea what's going on. I will say this, my political brain mixed with my lawyer brain is only asking the question and saying, okay, were they banning anything else? And not just the Z's, but meaning were all political symbols banned, for example? There was talk, for example, they're banning some of these things at World War II military graves. And that got me wondering, well, did they ban all political protest or whatever at military graves? So that's the only caveat I'll throw out there. I don't want to bash Germany unnecessarily, because it is possible this is one of those situations where there's a larger law in place where they just don't allow politics to intervene, people protesting and actually think about it, who might be protesting at the World War II memorials? The Nazis, neo-Nazis. So anyway, just my guess, or the Germans are just behaving badly to the Ukrainians. That's possible too. So I'm just trying to be fair here. Oh, and I was going to say, so the final little fundraiser update, actually, if I have the video here, I'll show you. The first car, we've been raising money to buy 2 cars to give them to a food aid delivery group in Kharkiv, Ukraine, the second largest city, bombed to the Stone Age. The Russians have been bombing Kharkiv, second most city bombed after Mariupol. I mean, really horrific. The second largest city, 1.5 million people. We've been giving money and food to a food group there. I say food group, but to a food charity that's been making meals, delivering them around town to people who either are stuck at home, like elderly or disabled people can't get out of their homes. Some people just don't want to leave. And then people in bomb shelters and things in the subways. So we've been helping them out. Our latest charity has been to buy 2 cars for them, and then filling the cars with food, driving them to Kharkiv. We've got volunteers, and then giving the food and the cars to the food aid groups so they can now use the cars to do even more deliveries. Well, anyway, the one car has now been filled with food. It is on its way. I put a video on TikTok just because I thought it was cool to see how full the car was. I don't know if the video synced here. Let me see. Sometimes they sync on my iPad. Remember, I'm finally going to get I was looking at the new iPad. Oh, thank you for the train, Pamela. I almost missed that. Thank you. Oh, sorry. And I do see your questions there, guys. I will get to them. I promise. One sec. Let me just see if I can find this. I'm thinking it didn't update yet. Sorry. Oh, hold on. Last little thing. Videos. And then I will jump to your guys' questions. Oh, you're throwing lots of questions in here. Lots of questions in here, you guys. All right. Let me look here. Is it?
Talk about the latest news from Ukraine. Join us. We'll be talking
That's
about
not it. I'm looking.
Join me for the latest news on Ukraine.
Oh, that was last night.
It's just in. The U.S. provided targeting information.
Oh, I may not be able to. Yeah. Oh, actually, I did miss that. That's funny. I just heard that little thing down there. So the latest little bit, which I'm not sure we talked about as well, was it looks like the U.S. did provide information of the existence of the Moskva, the ship that was the flagship that was sort of shot and sunk and turned into a submarine. We are denying that we provided targeting information, which I did use that phrase, but we are saying that they contacted us, the Ukrainians, and said, hey, what ship is that? And we said, that's the Moskva. And they said, oh, thank you. And we had no idea what they were going to do next. And I was kind of like, sure. We had no idea what they were going to do next. All right, real quick here.
Sanctions against Russia.
Nope. I may not have the...
A 15-year-old Ukrainian.
Oh, I don't have the video here. Too bad. Well, I'm going to leave my laptop open and see if maybe it syncs. I should have sent it to myself, but it's a nice video showing the van. I mean, literally the van we bought it's a minivan. They filled it to the gills with food and diapers and everything else. It's fabulous. I mean, it's illegal, actually. They're showing from the front seat. There is this much room between the top of the car and the goods that are inside. It's probably totally illegal, but God bless these guys. It's great. Anyway, so they're starting to drive right now, and we'll talk more about that another time. But all right, let me get to the questions because you guys already threw 4. Flint Reed, remember the end is nigh, guys, with the sandboard. Yes, the end is nigh. The guys with the big boards on them walking on the street, the end is near. Or in English, they'd say the end is near if they were Harvard educated, they might say the end is nigh. Maybe Putin's trying to re-energize that section of his crappy economy with the nuke stuff. Honestly, he's trying to re-energize the war movement in the West. I mean, we talked about it yesterday. There are some German intellectuals who are opposing this. There's some American, Noam Chomsky isn't happy, but nobody really cares. I mean, nobody even remembers who he is, to be honest. I don't remember who he is. He was a writer, but that's about all I remember. Putin is still pretty freaked out that we had this wonderful peace movement during the Soviet years. I mean, on the left, in America, in Europe, elsewhere. And the peace movement has been like, right? Jeremy Corbyn tried to make a little bit of trouble and everybody told him to shut up. Even his own party told him to shut up, right? You're seeing a little bit of fight in the Germans, but not really. I mean, you're still seeing pretty good unity, I think, of the Germans, I would say, too. It's been very interesting. I'm itching my hair because I have allergies. That's why I keep itching my hair. I have never-ending allergies. They drive me crazy. So anyway, that's what's going on. He's just being a jerk, Hold on, I'm looking again just to see if anything syncs here, but I don't think it's gonna. Oh, well. It would have been nice to show you guys the video. I love the video of the car. It was so cool. All right, question number 2. Actually, I'm going to look back really quick and make sure, because sometimes what you guys hear then is there's other questions that flit by. Nope, no questions flitted by. Okay, I've got 3 more. I've got Alyssa, Tyson Ann, and Harvey coming up here. All right, so Alyssa Hevrin? Let me go with that. Opinion on Russian forces excavating the theater they bombed in Mariupol. I saw that. So this is really weird. Russian forces are excavating the theater that had the words children in Russian written outside in Mariupol. This is the theater they bombed. There were 1,000 women and children, refugees inside there. The Associated Press just did an analysis where they've determined, this came out a day or 2 ago, they've determined that 600 people died in the Russian bombing, mostly women and children, because that's pretty much either women and children or the elderly or the infirm, because military-age men, were fighting. And this is Mariupol, the city they've been just destroying. Well, now it seems they're trying to make, it's really sick. It's really sick. They're trying to make Mariupol pretty for May 9th. Somehow they're going to show, they're changing the street, they're cleaning the streets, they're changing all the street signs, and they're making the names Russian instead of Ukrainian. It's this just sick. It's sick. It's this sick, Yahtzee-like behavior, to use the pseudonym we use, or not the pseudonym, but the word for those guys. And I don't, all I can think of I don't even know what they're trying to do with the theater. I don't even know what they're trying to do with the excavations. My guess is, okay, here's a guess. They're digging around the theater. They're going to dig up some bomb with a swastika on it that they planted and say, we told you the Yahtzees were responsible. That's my guess. They're going to somehow claim to have found evidence of the bad guys who they keep claiming, because they claim that Azov, the far right, they used to be far right. It's not even clear if they are far right anymore, but the far right Azov that they call Yahtzees were the real ones who bombed. Thank you, Anna Padilla. Were the real ones who bombed that theater. And, so yeah, it's some BS that they're doing in preparation for the May 9th, clearly. Just wanted to say, I love the graphic you shared on Facebook. I don't remember which. Oh, I've got to stop saying thank you, Pamela. I saw that the origami there's like a graphic of a Ukrainian flag kicking the Yahtzee symbol, if you know the 2 Z's, if you know what I mean. I know I don't want to use that word either because I don't want to get in trouble here. But if that's one you mean, yeah, that was amazing. That was absolutely amazing. I don't know who makes these things. I see them on Twitter and I just share them because they're just too cool. Final Harvey, good to see you. All right, put on my glasses for Harvey because I know this is going to be a tough one. There we go. See, thoughts on Russia? I did see that. That was a while ago, or not a while ago, but that was like not necessarily in the last day. Thoughts on Russia removing trademark laws on luxury products, meaning sellers won't be punished for bringing in products most likely through third countries. Do you think this is due to oligarchs whining about sanctions? I think, honestly, it might be. I don't know enough about sort of the oligarchs and, how much they're involved in the trade of what do you call them? Fake goods, the illegal goods, the copyrighted goods, whatever you call it, false, the fake goods that people make that aren't, Givenchy, they're whatever, they're fake, counterfeit. That's it, counterfeit goods. to me, just as likely is that Putin is going, you're hurting my rich people. I'm going to hurt your rich people. I'm going to say that anybody in Russia can sell any counterfeit goods they want of, Louis Vuitton or whoever, and there's nothing you can do about it. And I'm going to hurt your companies too. That's my guess. I mean, because, I'm sure there's a lot of Russians who are busy buying luxury goods who are now buying Louis. I mean, do you know what I mean? Like, the people who are buying the fake goods generally can't afford the good goods. And the people who can afford the good goods wouldn't be caught dead with a fake Louis Vuitton or a fake Chanel, I would guess. So I'm not sure who it's hurting, but I would pretty much guess it's Putin going, I'm going to hurt your rich people. I'm going to let them sell anything they want that's fake of your stuff. And I have nukes. That's my guess. All right, guys. I actually caught up. That was pretty good. All right. I caught up on my that was it. Yeah, that was it for the question. So so the fundraiser's going on its way. We got a second car coming, but we have been in question mode for a while now. So let me pull up a question on TikTok. Well, I mean, predictions on the parade, the main character said predictions of the parade, what's going to be interesting isn't what is shown, because we know what he's going to show. Putin's going to thank you, MSV. He's going to show all the nukes and everything and try to scare people and all that kind of garbage. But what will be interesting is what he says. He's going to be bellicose. He's going to talk about the Yahtzees. He's going to threaten us. The question is whether he's going to be so crass as to say, look at that nuclear weapon. Don't mess with me. I'm not sure. I don't know if he's going to go that far. What is interesting, actually, I don't even care about him saying that stuff. As I've said, he's bluffing. I couldn't care less what Putin says about nuclear weapons. What intrigues me is, and I see that, Seashell, thank you. I will get to your question. What intrigues me is, what will Putin say about, declaring war against Ukraine, that kind of national mobilization, meaning calling a nationwide draft. The Russians have denied in the last couple of days that Putin's going to do it, but they're liars. So their denial, if anything, their denial means it'll probably happen. So I think there's a decent chance that Putin, calls or tries to find something in between. I wonder if there is something in between where they are now and a nationwide draft. I was reading again before I came on. A lot of the Russia experts think, the Ukrainians even said today, oh, please call a nationwide mobilization, because their intelligence folks are convinced that the Russian people don't want it. As much as the Russian people are trying to support this war, a nationwide draft, the Ukrainians think would freak them out. So, we'll see. I'll move Harvey's question out. So I don't know. That I think is the big question for the 9th. Did I miss somebody's super chat? Thomas Tank? I didn't see one. No, I didn't see one from Thomas Tank, because I always remember that name, or Thomas D. Tank. I always love that name. Let me do seashells, and if you guys can find me Thomas D. Tanks and write it again. And Brian, I've got yours. I will. Okay, here it is. I've got it saved. Be kind. Thank you. I've got it now. Seashell asks, because of the time zone differences, what time to pay extra attention to Russia on May 9th? I don't know what time he's speaking. What time's the parade? I would think the parade might be at noon. It just sounds like the kind of time a dictator would want his parade. But if anybody wants to, if you guys can Google and see what time, actually what we really want to know is what time is Putin's speech. That's what I'd like to know, because that's what you need to look at, is when is Putin giving a speech? As far as I'm concerned, that's the big question. I agree with you. Not to support. No. I'm the same way. It'd be kind of fun to watch and see dictator. Well, but wouldn't it be like a dictator's not going to do like 1:45 p.m. Dictator's going to do noon, or midnight. It's like one time or the other, right? So, all right, Thomas. Actually, I'll jump to Thomas's, since you were. Where is this? Okay, I'm seeing Syndicate's answer to Thomas. Let me put Thomas's first. So Thomas said, Admiral Makarov, the ship that may have been hit by the Ukrainians last night, is a pretty new ship, 2017. And Syndicate was weighing in as well and saying, oh, you were saying the same thing. Okay, sorry. Thank you. You were repeating that. I appreciate that. Yeah, that's interesting. Oh, okay. Michaela says that the little show in Moscow starts at 9:55 a.m. Interesting. Now, do we know what time Putin is speaking? Okay, Syndicate's posting a little bit more. The celebrations begin at 9:55 a.m. Moscow Standard Time with the arrival of the president and the prime minister of Russia to a special grandstand in front of Lenin's mausoleum. And the question is, do they speak before the parade? I would think so. See what it says about that. Does he speak before the parade or not? See what you guys find. Yeah, because I'm just curious about what we're saying, like exactly when we should be tuning in. Now, Moscow, that's pretty far ahead. Let me see. What time is it in Moscow? 1:40 a.m. and we're 5:40. Is that 7 from where I am? That's 8 hours difference from where I am in Chicago. Because 5:40 plus 6 would be 11:40, 7, 8. Oh no, 8, 6, 8. Yeah, 8 hours difference. No, I'm losing my mind. Yeah, 5:40 plus 6 is 11:40, 12:40, 1:40. 8 hours. Yeah, so it's 8 hours difference here in Chicago. Interesting. All right, let me jump since now I've got 5 questions hanging. Oh no. Yeah, so Seychelles, see what time it is in Moscow at 10 a.m. That's the first guess, but the other question is whether he speaks later or earlier or anything else. I don't know. Now I'm pulling up some of the other questions I missed. So mods, if you would keep an eye on any new questions coming in, because I may miss them because I'm in a different screen now going through the questions I missed here. Brian, okay, and I'm seeing Carrie. Okay, I've got Carrie's and I've got Taiku's. Brian says, why are we not putting more pressure on India and the Middle East who are still trading without issues? Well, India especially. I would think India is the big ball of wax because they're such a big economy. I don't know why we're not putting more pressure. First of all, I don't know if we've got the pressure. The Brits have the pressure. One of you or several of you were saying when we talked about this a week or two ago that, well, no, I'm sorry. No, you were talking about the British pressure with the Middle East, with Dubai and the UAE, right? That's what you guys were talking about. I wonder if Britain would have any kind of pressure it could do with India, though. I don't know. I don't know whether the U.S. has pressure with India. I mean, India gets its weapons from Russia, at least up until now. They may not be happy now with Russia seeing how the weapons are doing, but the U.S. certainly has been treading lightly with regards to India, which makes me think there's other strategic issues we are worried about with India, for example, China and other things. So clearly we're worried about other things not dealing with Ukraine that we don't want to piss off India. Middle East, you kind of get into the same thing. I know I am tired today. You could tell. I could tell looking at my screen. Somebody goes tired eyes. I can tell I'm tired too. I don't know. I slept, but I've never been sleeping well. Middle East, Israel, we certainly haven't been putting more pressure on. So that's interesting too, because I would have put more pressure on Israel, frankly. And I don't know who else in the Middle East would matter in terms of making a big impact, right? The Saudis, but the Saudis too. The Saudis have been treating us like garbage. And honestly, Saudi Arabia is another country where we let them push us around when we're the ones that are keeping them alive. And we let them push us around, and we sort of forget the fact that like they exist but for the grace of us, and we, by the way, thank you for the fireworks, by the way, on TikTok. And we get a lot of guff, for example, from people in our own country and around the world for the very fact that we are responsible for keeping the Saudi dictators alive, the fake royal family in Saudi Arabia. So it annoys me that we don't stand up to them more and go, you know what? You want to play with gas prices? Why don't we just tell Islamic State. Well, Islamic State. I was going to say it's hard to find a terrorist group that isn't in cahoots with the Saudi government, but that's a whole other story. No, don't get me started on the Saudis. Thank you for the Borg implants. But in any case, yeah. So I don't know. Second here, Brian. Be kind. Did I? Yes. So that was Thomas's. Yep, I got that. Motek Missy, will POWs, will prisoners of war be forced to go to the parade? Now that's a fascinating question. I don't know. God, it's like something out of Hunger Games or something, taking a bunch of Ukrainian POWs and making them march in front. Now, mind you, the Russians are war criminals who are committing genocide, so they would have no problem tying a bunch of guys up and parading them. That's interesting. At the very least, if I were the Russians and I were evil, I might force a bunch of prisoners to give confessions or something. And, they'd beat the hell out of these guys and drug them up. So that's a possibility. that they're going to show some new videos of these guys confessing, thank you, Sharon, about these guys confessing about, how bad the Ukrainian government is and Zelensky and everything else. That's my guess. But, with the Russians, who knows? I didn't think of that with the POWs. They certainly could. It's not beyond them. I'm going to say Taiku. I'm going to say Taiku. I'm not sure. Do you think there will be a false flag attack? Well, the thing is, the Russians seem to have been trying, but they haven't gotten away with a very good one yet, it seems, right? Thank you, Kanausi, for that. We think they've done some in Moldova, in Transnistria especially, right? Where they're trying to create this sense of, so they can invade or whatever. We know going into the war, the U.S. had warned that we had intelligence. The Russians were going to try to do some false flags to blame Ukraine. We also know the Ukrainians arrested 2 people a week ago that they say were part of a Russian plot to blow up a civilian airline. Thank you, Kanausi, a civilian commercial airliner, either Russian or Belarusian. Thank you, Constance, or Constance, depending where you live. Airliner flying over Belarus or Russia, either Russian or Belarusian, flag, and they were going to blow it up and blame it on the Ukrainians. They were going to use a Stinger missile so they could blame it on an American missile. But haven't heard anything more about that. So they have been trying false flags already. They did a few, most likely them in Moldova, in Transnistria. I think we should assume they're going to do more. Absolutely. And again, that could be one of the other concerns for this weekend, because wouldn't it be, if Putin really wants to call the country to arms, Putin could use a nice false flag. We keep not explaining that. I assume everybody knows what it is. A false flag is when you fake an attack for your own gain. In other words, I go and I set the White House on fire and I blame the Republicans. That's a false flag operation. If I got away with it. It's what we believe the Nazis did with the Reichstag back in, was it 1933? And blaming it on the communists. We believe it's what Vladimir Putin did with an apartment building in Moscow that I believe he bombed and killed a lot of people and claimed it was Chechen separatists or something, but we think it was Putin. That's a false flag. It is a false attack that you actually do what you blame on somebody else. So yes, would not put it past them. They're doing them, but we'll see if they get away with any more. Let me go back to the main, while I'm looking at this question, go back to the main screen and see I didn't miss anything. I see more sunflowers coming up, hoping that's because there's Ukrainians among us and not the bad guys. Oh, let me just see here. Okay, I did not miss anybody, I think. The Kerry Brass guy, hearing that large American companies that shut down operations in Russia are having their leases on office space terminated by landlords and all assets seized. Interesting. I haven't heard about this directly. We were hearing about Russians talking, thank you, Sharon, talking about seizing assets of companies there. I did not see anything specific to the office space. There's also been talk, was it the Germans, I think? Who was talking? There was also talk in the Western countries in Europe of seizing the Russian assets. I thought it was in Germany. I'm forgetting if it was Germany or not, but one of the companies in Germany. Like, I don't know whether it was that German oil company, which would be really cool if they seized that. But I don't know. Now, mind you, part of it is, what does that really mean? Does it mean they're stealing a bunch of computers, in their offices? Okay. That sucks, but any company, when those companies left that office space, they should not have left any kind of material in that office that the Russians could get their hands on. First of all, you just assume if you work in Moscow or anywhere in Russia that the FSB is going through your computers and your files. You just assume it anyway. So you certainly wouldn't leave anything in the office when you left. So I'm less worried about that. Maybe I'm hoping all it is they steal a bunch of computers and it allows Putin to, brag, we stole your computers or something, but it seems kind of stupid. 1:55 a.m. That's not good. Yeah, I'm not going to be up at 1:55 a.m. in Chicago watching Putin's speech. That's for sure. I know, no yawning. Sorry. I thought I slept well last night. I'm just the worst sleeper for the last couple of years. I've slept like garbage. Oh, thank you for my crown of flowers there. Let me scroll down in the questions on TikTok so I'll get sort of a mix of them. The steel plant in Odessa still is where it is. There's 500 civilians that have been evacuated to date. There were another 50, I believe, that were evacuated today. They still think there's 500 down there. The troops are still down there. The Ukrainian troops, pretty much nobody thinks that the Ukrainian troops are going to get out alive. Partially because the Russians will kill them if they try to surrender. The Russians will kill them anyway. We know that, and I think the troops have already sort of admitted that they know they're sort of there to make the last stand to prevent Putin from getting a victory for May 9th and to just keep hurting Russian troops that keep attacking them and losing. So, let me see here. Did John mention? Let's see if John mentioned Michaela Midon. Did John mention how Zelensky sent invitations for president and prime minister of Germany for May 9th? Yeah, I didn't mention it. No, I saw that. I thought, what happened? Schultz said no. There was some weird, what was the deal with it? There was some weird thing I was reading about this where Schultz got offended or God knows what and wouldn't go. And then they invited the head of the parliament or some other crazy thing. But because wasn't one of those, the president or the prime minister, the one that the Zelensky didn't want at first because he was closely tied to, what's his face, the one we can't stand. Is it Gerhard Schroeder, I believe? The former German chancellor who's really close to Putin and kind of a total dweeb. I mean, like lobbyist for Putin, horrific guy. But yeah, I saw that Zelensky had invited them and wanted to come on May 9th, actually, but that I thought Schultz was being problematic because he thought it was, he thought they had dissed the little Putin ally, which, they should be dissing Putin's ally. But let me get rid of the steel plant question and then go to Brian's. Hey, Brian. I think it's an Australian dollar. Okay, Aussie. Hello, Brian. Continental Tires has started ops again in Russia. Ooh, they were threatened that the CEO and his staff would be arrested if they didn't restart. Are they there? I mean, they stayed in the country. Are they crazy? What's that about? That seems crazy. I'd be curious. I mean, do you know any? I mean, you could just write down as a regular question though. Do you know any more about that? That just seems nuts. I mean, I could see companies wanting to come back. That I could absolutely see. Wow. Yeah, I don't know. Oh, I'm yawning. The second yawn. I'm going to try to control this. I don't know why I'm so tired last night. I just did not sleep well. Like I said, I thought I slept well, but I can tell when I'm this tired that I didn't sleep well. Interesting, Brian. Yeah, I just don't know. I don't know. I didn't see that. I mean, again, they're morons unless they're Russian staff, right? But if they're Western staff, they shouldn't be there. And if they're Russian staff, I think the staff can say, okay, we're going to work, but the headquarters should say, we're not accepting it. I don't know. A Ukrainian vet on TikTok would like to ask you, do you have thoughts on losses for Ukrainian military? I'm wondering what specifically you mean in terms of, I can try to answer this. I just don't want to answer it wrong. Whether I'm trying to see here if I'm never going to find your question. There's probably like 90 questions. Yeah, there's like 90 questions in here. If you mean, for example, how many losses, what I saw the other day, which was interesting, that I think like in the West, people were estimating that Ukraine has definitely lost fewer troops than the Russians, which is great. Proportionally, it still could be significant, because their army was smaller or smaller-ish. I mean, they weren't that much smaller than the Russians, to be honest, but that the Russians had lost a lot more, which is good. I'm trying to think of the other stuff I saw on this. There was also talk that Ukrainians still had the morale on their side, that even if they lost troops, it's fighting on their home territory, which is keeping their morale up. Somebody else just mentioned the ratio. Yep. 1 to 3. I think it's 1 to 3 or maybe even higher. Who is this? Colonel Mustard. Colonel Mustard is noting on TikTok that the Russians need like 3 times the size of the Ukrainian forces if they're on the attack. And the Ukrainians are defending their homeland. But I'm not sure what you're getting at, but I think I'd seen something. I was surprised by the number because it might have even said 3,000 to 5,000 Ukrainian troop deaths. It was it was a small number compared to the Russians being, 15 to 20,000 or more, which surprised me. But that's all I know about that. That there's, our guys, I am sure we're not hearing about Ukrainian deaths on purpose, Ukrainian military, because all it does is help Russia if we estimate how many Ukrainians were killed, how many Ukrainian soldiers were killed. And it also possibly dispirits the population if, today it's 1,000 and next week it's 2,000 and the week after it's 4,000. It's just like with the Russian numbers, they keep going up, and it would be more morale boosting for the Russians to hear the numbers going up and more morale decreasing for Ukrainians. So clearly they're not giving us the info on purpose, but I did hear, like I said a few days ago, that the Ukrainians had a lot less than the Russians, and it was manageable, that it wasn't like the numbers. Oh, that was pretty. Thank you. I always like to see stuff on TikTok, that it wasn't like the numbers were so significant that it was impacting Ukraine a lot, and it's not, apparently, which is good. I mean, it matters, obviously. Any kind of war dead matter, but meaning it hopefully isn't impacting Ukraine in a big way in terms of their war effectiveness. I know, maybe I will. Oh, God, CPAP. I hate to put on a CPAP, but if I have to, interesting. I'll check, because it is kind of crazy that ever since COVID, so you got me yawning again. Thank you for the hat. Ever since COVID started, I've been sleeping very badly, and I wake. Well, my thing is the waking up in the morning thing, like waking up, at 6 a.m., 7 a.m., like that crazy. And you try to go back to sleep, but you keep waking up, and it's like, ugh. Interesting. Sorry. Syndicate asks, would Russian Ministry of Defense documents on how they train their tank battalions be interesting? I mean, potentially, sure. I have friends who would love to see it. I mean, my guess is this is something that the boys back in Washington already have, right? Sasha she is currently asleep. I will show her later if she's up. She's currently asleep under my table. So I'm having a dog request here. But if she perks up, I will absolutely show you. Yeah, if you think it's interesting, I'd love to see it. Sure. And again, if this is the kind of thing people in Washington have already seen, let me know. If not, I certainly have friends who would love to see it there, if you know what I mean. So I would say err on the side of sending it to me. It could be interesting. I mean, it could be interesting anyway. It could be over my head too, in terms of how people are trained. Let me see here on TikTok. Find another question, kids. TikTok. I would love Ukraine to disrupt the parade. People keep asking that. We don't know. Will Ukrainians try to disrupt the May 9th parade? Who knows? But it'd be cool if they did. I don't think, NATO involvement. I mean, I don't think it depends. I guess Cactus likes asking what the odds are of NATO involvement. And I guess, thank you for the flowers there on TikTok. The question really comes down to, what you mean by NATO involvement, because NATO's already involved, obviously, right? We're giving intelligence. We're doing all sorts of weapons and everything else. Yes. It's that big. Oh God. Syndicate. My only concern about that much data is where it came from. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think I'd be careful opening it myself. And I think my friends in DC might be careful too. You know what? Email me if you got my email, and we'll go from there and tell me more about where you got it. Cause I'm very careful about opening documents and things nowadays, especially, and certainly anything dealing with Russia. But so NATO's already involved. If you mean NATO involvement, meaning NATO goes to war with Russia, I just don't see it happening, because, the biggest reason is the same reason that that I don't think there's going to be a nuclear war. Russia can't afford it. Russia will, I don't want to say they'll lose a nuclear war. They're not going to win a nuclear war, because, as I said, our submarines will blow them up in response. So Russia's not going to a nuclear war with us. And Russia can't afford to have NATO enter the war. I mean, we're really talking about whether Russia is going to be able to beat, hello, you, mom's dog is walking around too, whether Russia can even beat Ukraine. I don't mean even, but let's face it, none of us really thought Ukraine or any country could beat Russia on its own, right? So it's, Russia is now in its own little existential battle to some degree. Not existential, but you know what I mean? I will say this, existential in the sense of Russia's perception as a world military superpower. They ain't a military that's for sure. They're a nuclear superpower, but a military superpower, they are not. And the Ukrainians proved that. I just wonder that, yeah, thanks, Flint. I just wonder if, you got me. I saw Flint's question about the dog, and then you got me off track. The odds of NATO involvement. There is no way Putin wants us involved. NATO will destroy. I mean, if Putin forced us to be at war, we win. He can threaten nukes, but again, he can't use nukes because we got nukes. He threatens nukes, and then the world's over. He doesn't win that way. So no, it's the worst idea ever. Okay, yeah, thanks, Syndicate. Yeah, definitely email me that. It's the worst idea ever. So yeah, so I'm not too worried about it. I'm really not. I mean, he could. It doesn't mean he couldn't force us to get involved by being a total freaking moron. Let's face it, the Russians have been totally stupid in the way they've handled this war to start with. But you know, let me grab another TikTok question. Yeah, remember, guys, on TikTok, the Q&A button at the bottom. But I warn you, there's literally like 100 questions from you all, so I can only get to so many. So I just kind of grab them randomly. Putin's body double. You guys mentioned that before. That's an interesting question. If Putin is speaking on the stand, it won't be a body double. If he's not speaking on the stand, it very well could be. Oops. I picked your question by accident, but it's a good question. Zal Panic No Discogs. How and when do you see this stopping? I don't know. Putin can't afford to lose, so he can't afford to actually stop this. He kind of is losing. He's been losing so far. It now looks like it's not clear that he has the ability to even take the East. And the military experts that I watch have been saying that, sorry, my back is tight today too. The military experts that I watch are saying that Russia, once again, doesn't have enough troops in the East to win this, to basically annex Eastern Ukraine. Now, Putin does have the power to just beat up Ukraine, which is unfortunate, but the problem is he should stop soon and he should cut his losses, but he won't, Thank you, Listen, for that, for the corgi. He should cut his losses and he won't. Because now I think part of the problem for Putin is his existence as a leader is going to be called into question soon if this keeps up. He's just screwing up. He just keeps screwing up. And at some point, the military or the intelligence or somebody's going to step in and be like, "Are you out of your mind? Like you totally destroy. You were a disaster what you did in this war." I mean, Putin's the mastermind, Zelensky's the comedian, and Zelensky's running the best war anybody's seen in not the best, probably one of the most. I mean, this war will be written up as one of the most brilliant wars ever in terms of the Ukrainian side, and it was run by a freaking comedian. And Putin, who's the big master spy expert, couldn't even run a war against a small little former province, so to speak. I mean, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. Anyway, the Wagner people, what are they saying? So the Wagner private military contractors currently in Ukraine said that either there will be a mobilization or we will lose the war. They think they need 600 to 800,000 people to defeat. Actually, that's kind of funny if they think they need 600 to 800,000 people because they're never going to get it. I mean, that's hilarious. That is hilarious. Let's see what happens. But I think that no one thinks they're going to mobilize that many people. No one thinks that. Oh, the comedian is already having he may not be having the last laugh yet, but he's getting awfully close. Yeah. Body double since 2015. I have not found that, but that's funny, Syndicate. Let's see what else we got going here. All right, let me jump again to TikTok. And anybody who might have asked a regular question earlier on YouTube, feel free to submit it again, because remember, scrolling back is really difficult. So I can't scroll back and see all of your questions because you guys are such chatterboxes, which is good. It's hard to tell. Interesting question, Chaps says, or Chapsy, why is the U.S. stepping up rhetoric against Russia? That's an actually good question. It's interesting because I've been analyzing that from the perspective of a different kind of why. The why I've been doing is it's interesting that the U.S. is getting braver and braver in the way or not even braver, kind of nastier in the way we talk about Russia, more dismissive, less worrying about the nukes. And I've been looking at it as why, in the sense of the why is that we are less afraid of them, that we are no longer afraid of the nuclear threat that Putin keeps putting out there, that initially we were afraid of getting dragged into the war, and now our intelligence tells us he's just bluffing on the nukes. And my suspicion is the intelligence also told him that the last thing the Russians want is for America and NATO to get dragged into this war, because we'll destroy, because Putin's having a hard time against Zelensky. Imagine if he has to take on NATO. They'll lose. Your why is different, which is interesting, which is nonetheless, just because we are no longer afraid of using stepped up rhetoric against Russia, you do it in politics for a reason. You do it in military strategy or foreign policy strategy you don't just do it because you can get away with it. Thank you, Disney, for those. You do it because you've got a reason. So the question becomes, what benefit do we see? I'm guessing it's a psychological game for starters. We may be playing the game aimed at Putin, or we may be playing the psychological game aimed at everybody around Putin. Maybe we're telegraphing to the military. Maybe we're telegraphing to the intelligence services and trying to let them see that the Brits don't care anymore. The Brits are so bold now that the British Defense Secretary said, go ahead and use our weapons to attack Russian soil. We don't care. I saw that last week, and 2 weeks ago, I was like, oh my God. I mean, that was quite in your face. And that kind of stuff makes me think that there's a strategy going on to almost embarrass Putin with the other higher ups who can overthrow him. That's my guess. But I'm with you. Don't assume that it's just happening randomly. Assume that these things are happening for a purpose. And in that case, it's a psychological game. The question is who it's being gamed against. Thank you for the party. I don't know what to call those things. Party favors? The little blowing up things you guys put on TikTok. Yeesh. I have no idea, plus play, but I'll put your question up in case anybody else has a suggestion. You have a Ukrainian fiancée who's stuck in Moldova alone. You're getting her a refugee visa into Canada. Know any resources that I can ask to help her there? Oh, you mean to help her once she gets to Canada? As a refugee? You know what? Why don't you feel free to post your follow-on question in the comments? And hopefully, now that I've highlighted it, if some Canadians are here on TikTok, actually on YouTube, this is a question on YouTube, but I think you're asking about resources for refugees, to help her there. Here's my question. Do you mean resources to help her in Moldova? Resources to help her in Canada? Why don't you follow up first? And mods, if I miss Plus Play's follow-up, tell me, because I can put it up. I can put it up again for follow-up, because I'm not sure where exactly. Is it Moldova or in Canada? Let us know. I'm happy to keep asking folks questions because that's sounds like a legit question. I'm always careful when people are asking things, like obviously nobody here is giving money because that would have to be vetted. But if you're talking refugee groups to help, that's a totally different animal. And I would think we'd hopefully find people who could help you. Question from OM Ginger. Hey, Ginger, I know you. Do you think the decreased fear of Russia we're seeing from the Western powers will reach... Oh, well, actually, let me stop really quick because people are weighing in a TikTok too. The question is where? I know here in Canada, we're helping refugees. Another person is Canadian here. A lot of Ukrainian churches here have been taking refugees in and supporting them. By the way, obvious place to check would be a Ukrainian church in Moldova, if that's where your fiance is. But we need more info from you, Plus Play, as to where they need the help. Okay, guys, hang on TikTok, and we'll see where the help is needed. But I appreciate you guys. We'll do a follow-up once Plus Play gets back to us. Do I think the decreased fear of Russia we're seeing from NATO, from the US, will reach a point where aircrafts will start moving to Ukraine? That's an interesting question. I mean, that's an interesting question. It could, it could. I mean, that's what was holding back. I mean, the issue was that we were afraid. Biden said, World War III, Putin's going to get mad. He's going to attack us or whatever. And if we are convinced that he's not, then the only question would be, is there some strategic reason we don't think the Ukrainians can really use them? They're a higher caliber of plane than the Ukrainians have had before. Like, we don't want to give them F-16s or something because they don't know how to use them, and we fear the Russians might get their hands on them, that kind of thing. But to get MiGs, that the Ukrainians more or less already have, I think it's a different variant I had heard, but it's close enough. That's an interesting question. Oh, okay, hold on. Plus Play is getting back to us. Let me finish answering this question, and then I'll tell TikTokers and YouTubers what Plus Play was saying. The specific help is needed. Yeah, so I think it's possible. It just depends on if we finally get to the point where they're literally not afraid of Russia anymore, then forget it. Okay, so oops, sorry. Debbie, thank you for the super sticker. Okay, so Plus Play, the rest of Plus Play's question or information is, I live in the U.S. in Tacoma. I applied for a refugee visa to Canada for her, a Ukrainian, okay, and trying to get her to the U.S. eventually. She needs help in Canada. I can't fully support her in Canada, and I'm looking for help. Okay. So she literally needs support as a refugee arriving in Canada without much on her back. That's the question. Okay, you know what? You guys on YouTube, I will try to, oops, hello. Somehow I was able to write a question. I'm trying to pull up. So Teeny Till says, some large businesses in Newfoundland, Canada are sponsoring refugees, giving them money and jobs. Canadian here, contact the local MP. Oh, contact the local member of parliament. That would be for wherever she's arriving or whatever city she's going to be in. Canada is bringing in refugees. Call the consulate in Canada. Whose consulate, though? You mean the Ukrainian consulate in Canada? Well, that's not a terrible idea, actually, too, if the Ukrainian consulate isn't overwhelmed, right? Let me see if there's more. And I'm just going to assume on YouTube you guys are weighing in, but if any more of the TikTokers have advice for what there are numerous federal government initiatives that will help her upon intake. I think the concern there is look on the Government of Canada's website. There is a number you can call for more information. Oh, that's good. So many Ukrainian churches in Western Canada are supporting refugees. Now, some of that becomes an issue of he's an American. He has no idea what church to call, but there's a huge Ukrainian population. So I guess part of the question is, do you know where she's going to arrive? Does it matter for the visa? Like, what I mean is does the visa have to actually say she's arriving in Toronto? She's arriving, you know what I mean? Just see what else you guys are saying. There is even bursary for Ukrainian to go to college. Oh, bursary, bourse, scholarships for Ukrainians to go to college for free in Canada. Oh, that's neat. That's neat. Immigration Canada. Many Orthodox churches are helping. Yeah, you're being asked where she's arriving. Yep, where she's arriving. Plus Play, if you can tell us more on where she's, like, what city do you think she's arriving in, that she'd be staying in for a while before you can get her to the States? Because people may be able to give a little more specific. Somebody says they're part of a something in British Columbia outside Vancouver. It's the Ridge Meadows Ukrainian Welcoming Committee. All paperwork needs to be up to date. Facebook, the Ridge Meadows Ukrainian Welcoming Committee on Facebook. Not a bad start, actually. Because you know what? Listen to me, Plus Play. So look on Facebook for the Ridge Meadows Ukrainian Welcoming Committee, because exactly, you can contact a welcoming committee and you can talk to them and say, hey, she's arriving here. Okay, she's arriving in Vancouver close to the border. Right, she's arriving in Vancouver, or you are? Okay, she's arriving in Vancouver close to the border, I'm assuming is what Plus Play is saying. Okay, Vancouver close to the border. Okay, so there you go. Sorry, other Canadians on TikTok. Vancouver close to the border. But, one of the things, an Orthodox Catholic, one of the things is, I know we're kind of, we kind of veered off the news, but I don't mind taking a few minutes and doing this. Any Ukrainian church in Toronto will be all the help you need. Well, see, there's a question too. You could easily find out, not easily, but it shouldn't be that hard. Either find a Canadian church in Vancouver that you can call. Actually, I would try to find a big Canadian church in Vancouver and call them, or find a big church in Toronto and tell them and say, do you guys know anybody I can call to help her? Because they're going to know, they should know about all the social welfare stuff that's available to start with. And they're also going to maybe know other churches and say, oh yeah, we've got a big church out there that's helping. But that's I think as part of it is just so someone can meet her at the airport, let alone where is she living? How is she paying for food? Is she getting clothes? I mean, all that kind of, the refugees, it's not like, generally speaking, the refugees pack 3 suitcases, right? My cousins are in Vancouver by the border. They're in the Ukrainian community. Lots want to sponsor people. That's good too. Any church in Vancouver can help. Anybody have a suggestion for a church in Vancouver? We have I didn't know that. We have such a large Ukrainian population in Canada. There's lots of help out there. Actually, that's good though. That's good. Okay. So there is a ton of the help there then. That's good. Okay. Plus Play said they've got it. It looks like he or she has enough information to at least get rolling on this. That's good. Yep. Just looking to see what else you guys are saying on TikTok. If anything else is useful to say to Plus Play on YouTube, but I don't know. Okay. Somebody else is saying upon arriving in Canada, she will be provided with a ton of assistance. That's good to know too, because you can imagine, like, the fear is, is somebody arriving and literally at the airport alone going, oh my God, what do I do? Canada has the largest Ukrainian population outside of Russia and Ukraine. I had no idea. That's wild. I had absolutely no idea. Wow. Okay. But then that means this is a good place to start. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, that's true. And Canada is well set up to help refugees. I mean, I'm not surprised about that. You are nice people. So I know you hate that stereotype, but you are nice people, and sometimes you need to just own it. It's a good thing. Okay. Yeah, let's move on. That's good. Yep. We can do a couple more. We can do another 5 minutes of questions or whatever, but that's great. I don't know when the war is going to end. We actually talked about that one earlier. God only knows when the war is going to end. No, I like doing it. I'm nice too. Thanks. Not Canadian, Greek. We're a little more fiery than the Canadians, if I do say so. That's it. Funny. Oh, hey, Yulia, good to see you again. How long until Russia collapses from sanctions? Well, maybe a while. The economic stuff is just kicking in. They were saying that it was actually I saw. Yeah, just looking here. I love that. Peck Andrea, thank you. I love that C thing. The central banker, the head of the central bank in Russia, had said a week or two ago now that the sanctions pretty much hit the financial industry first, but next up were industries across the board, because she said in large part, almost the entire Russian manufacturing industry, almost everything they produce in Russia contains some kind of foreign part, and that they're not going to have those foreign parts. So now is when you're going to see things kicking in more. The issue is going to be, when is it going to kick in? I think the thought was, let's see, because part of what's going to matter are these oil sanctions. If the EU, the European Union, is able to get these oil sanctions in place, this could be a big deal. That could be a big deal in terms of the pressure it puts on Russia. Now, Russia could possibly go a long time with this, but this is a lot of sanctions. I mean, but they get a ton of, thank you for the blue music. They do get a ton of money from the oil, which helps them. And that's going to be the big one. The other question is going to be their reserves. They were forced to use their reserves to pay their debt this month because the U.S. cut them off. Thank you, Schultz, for that. The U.S. cut them off. And that's only going to last them, I don't know. I don't know if it's going to last them 8 months, or depending on how their money's doing, or 5 months. But then what happens, right? As soon as they say spend their reserves, then they're sort of taking in money. And then they got to watch it. Then they have no savings in essence. So they better be getting in more money than they're spending, or at least break even. It's not clear they will. So we shall see. I will grab another TikTok question, since the YouTubers are all having a fabulous time trying to help the guy with the Canadian, or gal with the Canadian fiance, which I think is absolutely wonderful. Funny you asked that. So Cyber Druid, we've talked about this before. Cyber Druid, I forget who. One of you keeps asking me about the bridge, the Crimean bridge. Thank you, Iggy Woman, the Crimean bridge. And he said, should or can Ukraine destroy the Crimean bridge? I guess, good question as to whether they can. It depends where it is. I'd have to look on the map and see where it is and where they are. For example, artillery going 25 miles or whatever, are they close enough to even destroy it? Could they use one of those missiles they're using, like the Neptune missiles they're using against ships? Could you use it against a bridge? I don't know. You'd think you could here's the question. Do any of those kamikaze drones or any other drones carry a large enough bomb that can take out a bridge? There's a question too. It depends, I guess, on the size of the bridge and how it's built. But my guess is there's some reason that they're not taking it out. There is a strategic reason, either because they just think they don't have enough to take it out, they're not close enough, whatever, or there's some back reason, like, for example, we think as the war goes on, we're going to be pushing the Russians back, and we want the option to be able to invade Crimea. What if that's what Ukraine is thinking? It's possible. I think it's entirely possible. So that's my thought. But there's clearly a reason. There's clearly a reason, and that's interesting to me. Oh, sorry, MT History was weighing in on the sanctions issue. Most industries at this point have exhausted or are about to exhaust any required goods that they had stockpiled. So in other words, some of the economic impact you might not have seen yet in Russia because companies had stockpiled extra parts and they were using the extra parts. Well, by now they've pretty much used all their extra parts. So now is when they're having problems with production because literally they don't have the parts. They can't get them from the West. We knew, for example, the airline industry, I love to bring up the commercial airline industry, they were shut off by Boeing and you know who, Airbus, at the very, very beginning. Both of them, there weren't even sanctions covering it, and Boeing and Airbus cut Russia off. They cut them off from their repair services. They were no longer providing spare parts to the Russians to fix the planes, for the commercial planes, and they cut them off like Boeing did. I'm sure Airbus did too. They cut them off from the online manual they have to use to fix their planes, which was fascinating to me because I guess it kind of makes sense nowadays. You have the manual online and it can always be up to date. Well, to be online, you've got to use your password, and they just cut off their accounts. So they no longer can access. So how now, thank you for the drum set, Nate. So the question now becomes, how do you update your planes when you don't have the parts and when you don't have the manual? You don't even know how to freaking do it. So the amount of spare parts they had for the planes was only like 2 weeks. We're talking mid-March. They were supposed to run out of spare parts for their planes. So their domestic fleet of planes, I guarantee you right now, they are stealing parts from other planes and trying to figure out how to put it together. So that's going to be, so let's see. But over time, this is going to get worse and worse for the Russians. I don't know, MT, if you said anything, or if anybody said anything else on the, on all of this. Just looking here. Oh, that's interesting too. So Daniel says, Clanky, one of the hugely karmic things was that Ukraine was a big supplier of electronic military replacement parts to Russia. Oh, that's insane. Oh, that is hilarious. That's hilarious. Wow. Okay, that's very funny. What else we got here? Okay, here we go. This is what I was wondering about. So Raymond May weighed in on whether the Ukrainians can even get the bridge. He says, with artillery, no. With drones, nope. With aircraft, nope. With anti-ship missiles, nope. Only a special operations team, which is very difficult, meaning, you're sending men and women in under cover of night, possibly the same people they're using to blow up some of these things in Russia that we keep seeing. But okay, there you go. See, as I said, there's got to be some reason why it's not happening. It's not like the Ukrainians, didn't think of it, but that explains it then. Okay, interesting. I see you, Tom. I'm not sure what Zena Solo was saying no about. Love her, but don't know what she was. If you want to say what she was saying no about. Just looking here to see if anybody else had any other interesting observation. That's funny about them supplying the electronic parts. That's crazy. Let me see here on TikTok again. I'll do another question or two, guys, and then we'll call it quits. We did spend some time trying to help the Ukrainian, but that's all well and good. We like that. I don't think so. Kuroka Mill says if Putin loses Ukraine, he'll just nuke them. I don't think so. Because if Putin nukes them, then you're going to get NATO involved. I think if he uses a nuclear weapon, I think we're at war with Russia if he uses a nuclear weapon. I really do. I don't see how you don't have a war at that point. Because if he uses if he uses a nuke on Ukraine, it means he's willing to use a nuke on Poland, and he's willing to use a nuke on the Baltic states, and on Finland, on Sweden, and everybody else. I don't think so. Again, that's why I think he's bluffing. I think he realizes now that we were in a position where we were maybe worried at the beginning of this war. I wasn't, but that NATO was worried that If we push Putin too far, he's going to use nukes. And now we realize, no, he's not. And he's just a big blowhard who's bluffing. So no, I really don't think so. He uses them, and that's sort of one of the problems of having nukes too. In a way, it protects you, but in a way, you're sitting on something you can never use. So, which is probably a good thing in a way, because we don't want people to use nukes anyway. Yeah, his fear mongering has always worked. We're hoping now he's not working as well. Like I said, one or two more, and then we'll call it quits here, guys. Oops. I don't think the food shortage is going to cause World War III. Oh, Yulia, you again. I didn't realize I was repeating, but the food shortage is a growing problem. Thank you, Sean. I see that. I was just reading an article about that today, just that the UN's getting more and more worried that now, like, the UN has gathered evidence. I mean, not that we didn't know this, but evidence that showing that the Russians have been stealing food and actually attacking food. There's a Russian ship on fire by Snake Island. We're hoping that's the same. Thank you. We're hoping that's the same ship they hit last. Excuse me. I'm hoping it's not the same ship they hit last night. I'm hoping that's another ship. That would be pretty wild. That would be pretty wild. What else we got? All right, guys. Oh, sorry. I'm going to look for one more. Let me see here. Yep. Let me. Yeah, that's a good point too about the nuclear weapons having fallout on Belarus and even Russia itself. Good point. And I'm not worried. Somebody asked about the Russian warship off of Hawaii. I'm not worried about it because who cares? This is what they do. And they've done it during the Cold War too. They send their ships to scare us. But again, they're not going to nuke us. What are they going to do? Take Hawaii? I mean, they're not. We'd be at war then, and then he'd lose. So I'm not worried about it. The new puppy's adorable. I'm going to end with the new puppy since I'm over anyway. Thank you, Flower Lady. My sister's new puppy is adorable. It's been very difficult to get good pictures of the new puppy because the puppy is black, which actually, this is funny. This takes me back to a conversation I had with the worst staff of my entire life, my staff at the United Nations. The regular listeners know how much I hate the United Nations. It was the worst job of my life with the worst employees I have ever had in my entire life, including the worst boss. My boss was corrupt and unethical and a bully who bullied staff and caused staff to cry. My staff were the most privileged brats on the planet. But one of the things, actually, this picture works. One of the things I'm going to show you the dog first. It's a bad picture of me, but I don't care because I want you to see the dog because she's so freaking cute. So this is Layla. Oh, there you go. See this picture we used a flash so you actually could see her. You cannot see this dog without a flash, which is the funniest damn thing. You just can't. You can't without a flash. But because she's black and she just blends in with herself. It's very funny. But yeah, she's adorable. She's coming over tonight. We're going to see her. But now we're in the part where we just hang out and chat, folks. So I will tell you my UN story. So yeah, don't mention the UN to me. So I'm trying to explain I'm running the whole internet brigade at the United Nations Development Program, UNDP. Charge of the website, charge of social media. And I'm trying to explain to my staff. My staff they were not editing photos before they put them on the website. And they would just take a photo, maybe they'd crop it. They wouldn't even crop it. They just put the photo up there. And the photos, they were never adjusted for brightness. They were never adjusted for color. They were too dark. And I was like, guys, you're going to have to learn how to edit photos. Oh my God. You thought I had suggested that they sleep with me or something. I don't even know. They live it. And I'm like, oh God. And I'm like, you know what? We'll pay for you to take Photoshop courses. And now I'm going like, you're freaking millennials. And you don't even want to learn how to use Photoshop? Like, why? And I'm going to pay for it. Why would you not want to get paid for free Photoshop classes instead of your job? I would love that. In any case, this is the best part, though. I was trying to explain to them, because we're the United Nations Development Program dealing with poverty, a lot of the people we deal with are people who have dark skin. And now you're kind of sitting here like you're talking to a moron, right? But I'm like, Latin Americans and Africans, but actually a lot of Asians too, like South Asians, have dark skin. And let me show you what happens when you take a picture of somebody with dark skin, especially when they're next to people with light skin. And I showed them some pictures. And if you've ever seen this, and if somebody who knows, and by the way, I've been doing photography since I was 8 years old, and I'm showing them the picture and I'm like, can you see this person's face? Not really. I see like some light where the eyes are, and I'm like, can you see their mouth? No. It all blends together. And this is a problem when you take pictures of people, animals, anything that's dark. You will notice it with black. I said, friends of mine had a black cat. That cat was literally a circle on the floor when you took pictures of it. It wasn't a cat, it was nothing. I said, one of the ways you fix this, you use a flash, or you go to Photoshop and you can use shadow and whatchamacallit, highlight and shadow. And you go to shadow and you can kind of change it. And I said, it doesn't lighten the photo, but it lightens the dark spots a little and you can see the contrast more. I gave them some examples and showed them. I said, see, with this photo we put up, you can actually see the people that are there. The people we're trying to honor, you can see them. These idiots come up to me the next day. God, I hated these people. After all of that, okay, come up to me the next day. John, we were very upset that you're telling us to change the race of the people we show on our website. I was just going to freaking kill them. I mean, at this point, I didn't even know what to say to these idiots. And this is my staff, these idiots, but I love it. Change the race of the people on the, I'm like, yeah, that's what I was asking you, was to make them white people. That's exactly what I was asking you, you effing childish, privileged, what's the word? Not attendance, what's the presence trophy, whatever it's called, attendance trophy morons. The biggest effing privileged morons on the planet, and they're getting paid $130,000 a year tax-free, many of them in their 20s, with benefits like you can't imagine. I hate that place with a passion, with a fucking, sorry, I said the word passion. They're the worst freaking people on the planet. Anyway, oh my God, there, see? We got me talking about the UN again. Don't make John talk about the UN. I need to put up a sign on my computer. Ixnay on the UNA. That's pig Latin for anybody who doesn't know. Oh my God. Anyway, all right. Oh, they're absolute morons. Absolute morons. Anyway. God, I worked there for a year and I quit. And then I worked just on my own for a year and then moved back to DC because DC is so much cheaper than New York, you know. But it's too bad. I was so participation trophy, that's it. I was so looking forward to working there, you know, because I've done international stuff my entire life, traveled around the world, speak a number of languages. So freaking, they're idiots, Crystal. That's what's wrong with them. So disappointed. I mean, literally, within 3 weeks on the job, 3 weeks or 4 weeks on the job, I was asked to do something incredibly unethical. I went to the ombudsman, and his like deputy told her, and she almost hit the roof. It was a privileged communication, but she goes, do you understand how illegal it is what they asked you to do? And I was like, I'm here talking to you. So I went back and I talked to my sister that night too. And she's like, you can't do it. So I went back the next morning. I had already told one of my staffers about it because they were like, you tell your staff. And I'm like, you don't understand my staff. My staff think they're the freaking Russians. Actually, so one of my staff was a Russian Ukrainian that a Russian once told me. It goes, Russian Ukrainian? He's Russian. He's not a Russian Ukrainian. This guy's the guy who wouldn't show up to staff parties. Staff parties bothered him. So whenever we had staff parties, he refused to come. Meaning, there's a party in the conference room. He refused to come. He also refused to have meetings with me. He sent me a note and said we would check in meetings every 2 weeks. And he found the meetings that we check in on they're just not helpful enough. So we're not going to have them anymore. And I was like, excuse me? You have a meeting every 2 weeks with your boss to just discuss how things are going, things that I'm saying, and you've decided that you don't think they're useful anymore. So I go to my boss, the most corrupt, mean, bullying boss of my entire existence, and corrupt as hell, ask her for help. She was the communications director at UNDP. I'm no longer hiding this crap. I've been hiding it for years. No longer hiding this crap. You can Google who was communications director in 1995. I am very surprised that there haven't been lawsuits following this woman at every job she's at, because let's just say I got a lawyer involved, and I can't believe that I'm the first staffer of hers that got a lawyer involved, because the bullying, people were getting psychiatric help. One of my friends came up to me and goes, are you going for like psychiatric counseling? And I was like, no, why are you asking me? I said, what a weird question. And he told me, he goes, because I am. I said, really? I said, are you okay? He goes, I can't take it because she's, I don't know what to do anymore, what she's doing to me. And I'm like, the woman, horrific. This is why I tell people, do not give a dime to that organization. Sadly, what the American Republicans say about the UN, Unfortunately, they're not on the wrong track. It is a brilliant, wonderful idea taken over by the worst people on the planet, the most corrupt people on the planet. And it shows you, yeah, same famous. It doesn't make me happy to share them, but it really disappoints me though, because I was so excited about working at the UN, and I love the concept of the UN, and they're horrific. They're horrific, and they pander to every freaking member as well. Every freaking member. So like they will never do anything to Russia because they've got a genuflect to every member, every member, every member. So that China, oh my God, the battles we had with China, and then this whole crazy God, what did we have on the map? That, oh God, this whole issue with the map of Palestine and Israel, and there was something that we couldn't even get resolved that everybody was pissed off about. And I was just like, oh my God, the IOC, you jest. The International Olympic Committee, dear Lord. They make the UN look like Boy Scouts. Oh my God. Yeah. Horrible. Okay. Sasha, well, she's still asleep under the table. I don't want to, Flint, I can't pick her up. I always feel bad picking Sasha up when she's under the table. I don't like doing that. It makes me, because she's sleeping. And it's cute too, because she sleeps and she's got this little towel. She likes to hide under, she's part Yorkie. She just likes to hide under things. So she's got the towel like over her head, covering to her nose. It's very cute. But no, she's a trip. Anyway, all right, guys. Tomorrow's Saturday. So tomorrow we'll do our usual, which is 1 p.m. Central Time, 2 p.m. Eastern. And once again, I get very confused at what the GMT is. What's the GMT UTC time right now? It's 6:30 where I am, 6:30 at night. Let's see, let's see. When you guys catch up, you'll tell me. What's the UTC time or GMT time right now? I'm going to guess it's like 11. I don't know. 11:30. Yeah, but I'm looking for the UTC GMT. There you go. 11:36. Okay. So it's 5 hours ahead of me. Okay. So GMT is 5 plus CT. I'm going to call it. Okay. So 1 o'clock Central Time is going, because it's 6:30 here. It's 11:30 there. It's 5 hours ahead. So 1 p.m. Central is going to be 6 p.m. GMT. Okay. I have to write this down and keep it down so I don't keep screwing this up. So 1 p.m. Central, 2 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. GMT. That's what we'll do for tomorrow, Saturday. And then Sunday, we'll figure it out because it's Mother's Day. And I am making my moussaka tomorrow for Mother's Day on Sunday. And we're going to my sister, so it just depends what time. I'm still considering we may do something Sunday. Let's see what time it is, my sister's. I'm guessing it's like at 2. Maybe we'll do something Sunday night for a little while. Probably will, a little while. But not too long because I can't spend the day on Sunday reading the news. So I will be up on stuff, but not as, I'll be up-ish in the morning, but I won't be as up as I normally would be because I do spend the day watching this stuff. Moussaka, I know it's Mom's recipe, so it's a good recipe. I'm going to try potatoes for the first time. I never put potatoes in my moussaka. It drives me nuts when Greek restaurants do it, but this time I'm going to try. So, and thank you, Christy, for that. Okay, guys. I'm going to go. Let me say bye to TikTok so that when I see you guys saying bye to me back, I know you've gotten this message because you're often delayed half a minute or something like that. And YouTube, same thing to you all. I'm going to sign off. But yeah, so tomorrow, 1 p.m. Central, 2 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. GMT. And unfortunately, the dogs are asleep, and my dog is even snoring right now. So I would feel very bad picking her up. Thank you, moderators, as always, Borderline and everyone else on TikTok. Thank you for all the gifts. I love them. I appreciate it. 7 p.m. GMT. Okay, see, you GMT people are already arguing. This is exactly why I don't use GMT. Exactly why I don't like it. You're already arguing with each other. That's BST. It's 7 GMT? Okay, you know what? This is why we can't have nice things, kids. The GMT people are arguing with each other as to what time it really is. I still think the easiest thing to do, because even with GMT, you've got to figure out the difference. The easiest thing to do is just do what I've been doing, which is telling you 1 p.m. Chicago time, and you go, hey, Google, what's the time difference with Chicago? And Google will tell you, or hey, Siri. And that's how you do it. Yeah, see, it's too confusing. I'm not going to use GMT until we get a higher, because I check online and they don't even, it's 23:38 GMT. You are convinced. Okay, that is 5 hours ahead because it's 6:40 right here. So that's 5 hours ahead. All right, I'm trusting you, Syndicate. 6 p.m. GMT. All right, I'm trusting you. Crazy people on TikTok saying 7. All right, guys, I'm going to sign off. Goodbye, YouTube. See you tomorrow.